This is the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast on the WVSA Digital Network. From the Sport Pens International Studios in Charleston, West Virginia, here's your host, Marcus Cole.
Welcome to the podcast. We have another great show on tap. Before we welcome our guest, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share our program. This helps us get the word out to others and let them know that we're providing valuable information designed for soccer players, coaches, referees, and parents. With us today is Pete Bussa, TOPSoccer East Region Chair. Pete, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Like I said, Pete is the East Region Chair for the TOPSoccer program, and we're going to talk everything about TOPSoccer here today on the podcast. So why don't we go ahead and dive right into it, Pete? Why is it important for local soccer clubs to have a TOPSoccer program in their community?
Well, USYSA used to have a phrase that said, youth soccer is the game for all children. And TOPSoccer is really the program that makes that true. As you may or may not know, TOPSoccer is about children with special needs, physical or cognitive problems, and it gets them out and gets them playing the great game. That's what TOPSoccer is all about.
It's a wonderful program. Been involved with it over the last number of years, covering it and talking more and trying to bring more awareness to everybody about the program. Now, obviously, you've been involved for a while. For you, what's been the most rewarding part about being a part of the TOPSoccer program?
Well, I've actually been involved in TOPSoccer since before it was TOPSoccer. On Long Island, we had several clubs who were offering this program out. And then when USYSA decided to start the program, we were among the people they spoke to on how to do it. It's a great program. For me, the most rewarding thing about it is, aside from what it does to our players, our buddies, which are our high school helpers, to see these young kids come across the field and not know what they were getting into, to 3 or 4 years later, as they graduate high school, going off to become special ed teachers and that sort of in that field, where the experience here has lit the fire into them to really, set them up for the rest of their lives.
It's a very, very rewarding program. If a club or league is interested in starting a TOPSoccer program in their community, what should they do?
They should reach out to their state organization. Every state in the nation has a state chair who will then, that's what they do. They will, on the ground, get there, help them set up the program. Some states have some seed money to help start programs, but that's what they do. Get to that state, your state organization, get to that state chair, and they will help you and tell you everything you need to know to get it going.
Great. I know in talking with people in the past that a lot of clubs may be nervous in running a program for players with disabilities. We get a lot of, well, I'm not 100% sure how I should, how would I handle, maybe somebody that's on the autism spectrum, or how do I deal with somebody who's bound to a wheelchair? What kind of support and training does USU Soccer provide for these programs?
There are actually two training programs available. One is for coaches. You can be certified in coaching TOPSoccer. It's very much like your normal, like grassroots type of course that rec coaches would take, but it gets much more specific into, like you said, the children with autism and other children with their issues. The other one it's for our buddies, where it's less intensive as the coaches one, but it gives these high school children who are going to be coaching, actually hands-on coaching these kids, what to expect, what not to expect, how to handle situations, and it really gives them the confidence to go further and to be able to work with the children. On that note, as you said that some clubs, they're not quite sure, or people not quite sure. When you boil it down, and I went through this as a coach when I started it, when you sit back and take a look, these children are just kids playing soccer. When you boil it down, that's what they are. There's a lot of children out there, from the best players in your club to the worst players in your club. Children have different issues or whatever in their life, and these are just another whole set. I tell people when we're going to start a program is, don't think of it as something completely new. It's just a different division in your rec program. That's all it is. And it's just kids playing soccer.
And yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. It's kids that are playing a sport that they love, that they watch, that they experience. Maybe they see brothers and sisters playing it, and they want to be a part of it, which is wonderful.
Exactly.
As we close, go ahead.
That's also another reason why when clubs are looking to get started, and they're like, well, where do we even find players? If you reach out and look at the families who are already playing in your club, unfortunately, there are members of their families, other families out there who need this program. You just have to offer it to them and you'll get your players. It's just, and what you said is huge with it, when these kids go out and they get to put on that uniform that their brother and sister puts on every Saturday and goes out to the field, that brings them into the community of that soccer club. And it is huge for these children their self-esteem and their ability to become part of the community, where unfortunately in the past, sometimes these children were kind of pushed to the side.
Yep. In closing, talk to us a little bit about the parents of the players and how they feel when they see their kids participating in the TOPSoccer program.
To some of them, it's amazing. Some of them are lifelong soccer families, and now they've had this child that couldn't play traditionally, and now they're able to enjoy the game and to participate in the game. If you indulge me, can I tell you a short story?
Absolutely.
From years ago, I was probably in this maybe 3 or 4 years, and I had this young player family come, young little boy, and he was nonverbal and autistic. So his mother told me right off the bat, no matter what he looks like, that he's not paying attention, he hears and understands everything you say. So we put him out in the field, and he was a little fireball, and he was going. So we got to our first festival with him, and we put him in the game. Now, a couple minutes into the game, I subbed him out, and 2 or 3 minutes later, I'm getting a tug on my pants leg. He wants to go back in the game, and he's, So wait a minute, give me a couple of minutes. A couple of minutes go by, same thing. So finally, I swap him off, and my assistant coach, who was standing next to me, says, I don't know what's going on, but something ain't right on the other side. Other side of the field, we look, and there's this little boy's mom, his dad, his grandmother, his aunt. They're all bawling like you wouldn't believe. And game ended. It's all fine. Game ended. They came over, and I was like, listen, if I did anything wrong, I'm really sorry. They were like, no. That was the first time that he asserted himself to any adult or anything to get his point across. And it was the game of soccer that brought that across. These parents, we get that sort of stuff all the time when we get that silly little breakthrough. And you might not think it's anything, but to these people who have dealt with this for years, it is a huge step. And from that day on, that little boy, he understood, the light bulb went off in his head that if I want this adult to do something for me, I have to get the point across. And that all happened on a substitution in a TOPSoccer festival. That's when that connection was made for that young man.
That's an excellent, that's an excellent story.
The entire family, the father actually was a player for the Israeli youth national team. So soccer was deep into this family. He had a little son, and then the son was autistic. So that, I guess he thought that bridge to his childhood or whatever was never going to happen. And it happened. And he ended up to be a pretty good little player.
That's awesome.
But that's the type of things that TOPSoccer does.
It's amazing. I remember we were recording some footage from a TOPSoccer event to put together sort of a little commercial for the event. And, you know, just looking at the parents on the sidelines and just that genuine smile on their face and just seeing that their child is included, is having fun, because you know, I can't imagine some of the struggles that some of these parents and caretakers go through with their child. But just seeing that moment of their child and that struggle is kind of pushed aside for, you know, half hour to an hour.
Yep.
And just seeing the joy, this is the most purest, most innocent joy and having fun that these kids are having, and it's wonderful to see.
Yep. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, wonderful.
I started with my own children. Thank God. I thank God every morning. They're both in their 30s now. That we didn't have any of these issues. I've coached them. I've coached at the highest levels at youth soccer, and this is the program that I'm involved in. This is where I've given up. I gave up competitive coaching years ago, but I've always maintained and stayed with this. And I find it as my goal to build the program. That's why I'm involved.
That's great. That's a great position to be in. That's awesome. Talking to Pete Bussa, he's the East Region Chair, USU Soccer TOPSoccer program. Thank you so much for coming on the program today and talking to us about this great program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to our podcast. We appreciate it. Remember, make sure you like, subscribe, and share our program, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast. You can catch a brand new episode every Thursday morning here on the WVSA Digital Network, or find us on our social media platforms at WV Soccer. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved.